Welcome to part 2 of episode 1 of After Freeness, the Aftermath. This part is called Reinvented the Remix. Um, Part 1, we dealt with the events of the live show that took place at CJ's on the Avenue when the hip hop show of Boom 94.1 hosted their first ever live show. And this episode, we deal with the actual radio show from the following day. Right? The reason we call this one Reinvented the Remix is because the initial episode that we recorded to upload and release for you people, we had to change it because certain developments took place after the release of the first episode that we felt needed to be included, so we remixed it and uploaded it for you. So, as I said, the first episode dealt with the live show. So after that episode was posted, the boss of that live show, the promoter of the live show, and the boss of the radio show, he called me again, and he let me know that he doesn't like to have his name called on the internet and whatnot. He's a family man, a businessman, a behind the scenes man, etc., etc., etc. And so, being the good sport that I am, I decided that I would oblige with his request, and so from henceforth we'll refer to him as Ghostface, and his name will no longer be included in any further episodes of this series, right? So Ghostface called me, we had a conversation, we'll get back to that later. What we want to get into in this episode, because we have a lot to talk about, is the actual radio show from the day after. So the night after the show, the radio show was on a Monday night from midnight to 3 a.m. on 94.1, hosted by DJ Pun and Chump. And the first thing to note is that these guys are supposed to be media personalities or radio personalities, journalists, whatever they want to call themselves. And they're supposed to take a neutral standpoint or unbiased standpoint when interviewing persons and dealing with situations within the industry. However, that was not what took place. So when the show was going on live on the air, I was instructed by one of their staff members to tune in, because I don't usually tune into the show. It's a graveyard shift show from Monday midnight to 3 a.m. when people are asleep. I don't think many people listen to the show, and usually if I'm gonna catch the show, I would check out the SoundCloud when they upload it. However, the most interesting artists that they've had on the show make it happen. His episode mysteriously has not been uploaded to their SoundCloud yet, weeks later. I'm not sure if anyone from the show could address why that is so. But moving on, I was asked to tune in, so I tuned into the show. And when I tuned in, I heard, some remarks being made about me, which I find a little bit unbalanced, to say the least. So they were discussing the events of the night before at the live show, and despite the fact that Pun knew for a fact that a person from my camp had spoken to him on that night and asked him to play 2 songs from my flash drive, which were from my album, as promo, he decided to continue to perpetuate the lie that I had planned in advance to come to the show and play a Schooner diss track. I found that was distasteful because he knows better. The second thing he said was that, this is a hip hop show, this is hip hop, we rap over instrumentals here. And there's not no tropical pop or tropical house, this is not no St. Anne's thing. Trying to again shit on my name because in the night of the show, I did not want to rap on instrumentals on their stage because I was not a paid performer. I was just an invited guest who came to the show as a patron. So the next thing he said was that I came up in the skinny jeans era of rap because I didn't want to battle Schooner for free in a room full of rappers and no real exposure either. So seeing as I've known Pun for many years, and Pun knows me as well for many years, not as friends but through music and mutual contacts, I find it funny that he would get on the air and say such strange things about me when he's seen me perform and rip shows at things like Street Style Saturdays. He has actually been Matic's back-end DJ, and I've performed in a couple of Matic shows as a guest with him as backing DJ, so he knows what I do and what my stature in the hip hop in Trinidad and Tobago is. Maybe, when a little DJ gets a graveyard shift radio show, the memory just gets affected by that now. I don't know if that's the case here. So he was saying those things, and the member of their staff now prompted me to call into the show and set the record straight. So I did such. I called into the show. I straightened out the facts that I had not had anything to do with any orchestrated attack. Chump called me a liar on the air. I mean, I don't think I need to say anything to disrespect Chump because his name is Chump. And there's nothing good about being a chump. So yeah, that. So I called in, I let them know that I didn't have anything to do with it, and they asked now why I didn't battle Schooner in the show. I again reiterated that they were not paying me, and Pun then insinuated that artists should perform for free and get exposure so that they could get big and command a fee. Now, I'm sorry, but I've performed in a lot of places in this country and haven't performed for free in over 3 years, and I'm not gonna start with a small hip-hop show that only had other rappers in the room. Like, there were literally no real patrons to the show. It was a bunch of rappers who came either to perform or as entourage for other performers. That's not any exposure. All of those rappers know my music already, and if you're not gonna pay me, then I don't think I need to perform at such a show. Right? We've performed at Napa, we've performed at many larger venues than that, Wassa Emancipation Show, etc. I'm not gonna come and perform in a room full of rappers for free to promote your show, a show that doesn't support me, that doesn't make any sense to me, financially or otherwise, career-wise. It's just not a sensible thing to do. So artists, take note. If you are serious about your craft, you're paying money to record and produce music, don't let DJs like Pun, who do not spin in any party for free, tell you that you need to come and perform in any event for free. That's not helping your career, okay? Now we move on to dealing with the guest of the show, which was Seth Gaines. So Seth Gaines was on that episode of the Hip Hop Show, and he had some things to say about me as well, which I find funny. Firstly, Seth Gaines, you already been killed off by Make It Happen years ago, and you're so much of a punk that you put Make It Happen on your album after this year. That's funny to me. I wouldn't do that. There's no way anybody who ever dissed me would end up on my album. But I mean, to each his own. So Make It Happen, tell you already, is a pampered rich boy. You should try and stop putting the Sabga family name to shame with your antics, okay? What I find funny about Seth is that he came on the radio to say that Ans was afraid to battle Schooner, and the thing is, years ago, after Make It Happen dissed him on Truth Is My Gun, they started bumping their gums about battling and whatnot, but Seth Gaines was paranoid and afraid to come and meet Bebo in Mount Lambert to arrange the battle with Make It Happen. And guess what? The battle never took place because they were afraid to come and sort out the business aspect. So how is it that a man who ran from the only battle that he ever had in his career is gonna tell Ans that he's afraid to battle? I find there's this saying about pots and kettles. It might be applicable here. I don't know. That crew seems to be accustomed to taking a lot of losses when it comes to battling, but more on that again later. Other thing that Seth had to say is that St. Anne's is a doctor and he's loaded. To that I say the information is inaccurate. St. Anne's is in fact a doctor and a surgeon. I'm not loaded, but if I were, it would be off of my own strength and not off of my parents' money or my mother's political connections or any of those things, because it would be off the strength of my own 2 feet as a man, right? Um, I find that me being a doctor and still being able to have a successful career in music probably is very inspirational to the young black men in this country and could be anywhere else in the world, that they could do positive things with their lives and they could multitask and nobody could tell them what they have to do and nobody could limit what they could do and tell you, well, you need to do this one thing. You could do many things. All you have to do is manage your time and have the talent. With respect to the loaded aspect, I mean, I grew up in a house with 3 siblings and 2 parents. I have a 4th sibling as well who didn't live with us, and we had a pretty normal upbringing. We didn't have no cable television, we didn't have no Nintendo, no PlayStation, none of that shit. It had books, it had outside, it had musical instruments and music, and school. We walked to school, we walked back home from school. When I reached the secondary school, we carpool or we travel to school and we travel back home. Understand? When I've not been unemployed since I was 15 years old. When I finished CXC, I got my first job. I took inventory at a hardware on the Eastern Main Road in Tunapuna. Rest in peace to Mr. Duncan. And I made $100 in my first week. You understand? So I've never not been working for my money. After that, I went back to school. When I finished school, I work again before I start medical school. I work in UE, statistical office. I work in Mega Insurance Limited. I went to medical school. I work again at Mega Insurance in the summer. Give my mother money to help towards the bills in the house, especially since I'm borrowing her B15 to drive and go and record music and that kind of thing. So I don't know where this loaded talk came from, but anything that I have now is mine, that I earn, and now I'm proud to be able to help out my younger brother with tuition and pocket money if needed, or for the strength of these. The last thing that I'm gonna address from Seth is that he said that Anne's excitement factor is low and the people don't want to hear Anne's. And it's funny, you see, because Schooner, he said, is more exciting. The people want to hear him. So Schooner was on an episode of the same radio show, the hip hop show on 94.1. His episode was uploaded about 2 weeks before on their SoundCloud and had 62 plays. Compared to episode 9, the episode where I just called in on the phone and shared it on my social media when it was posted. And within 24 hours, it had 200 plays. It seems that the people want to hear me speak a little bit more than they want to hear your boy speak or your boy rap or whatever. So, I don't know, maybe the people prefer my speaking voice over my rapping voice. On that note, let me bring it back down to the show, which is what the reason we are here. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. We explained that already. I've provided a lot of free promo for that show, and in fact they went on after that episode to use my name again to promote their show further by stating that they would play the diss track by me versus the diss track by Schooner live on the air and take a vote and see what the people think about who won. Now mind you, I already won. This has been known. Nobody thinks Schooner won except maybe the yes men in his camp. Looking at you guys. And they use that to promote and get people to listen to their episode, and of course they never played the diss tracks. I knew that would happen, but they never played them. They just used my name to try and get some hype. So then let's get into that phone call that I mentioned earlier. So Ghostface called my phone, and he let me know he doesn't like his name called on the internet. He's a family man, businessman, behind the scenes man, etc., etc., whatnot, whatnot, whatnot. I let him know as well that I think he now knows how I feel because I don't like my name calling on the radio either, especially when your hosts are being a little bit biased and saying my name in a negative light. And he proceeded to say, well, he wants me to come on the show, and he wants to play my music on the show, and he wants me to come and straighten out things, and I could talk with Pan and settle our differences, and blah, 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 whatnot, whatnot, whatnot. And he said he would send me some dates for when I could come on to the show. I said, cool, no problem. We had a 21-minute conversation. Hung up the phone. Soon after that, his staff member calls me and tells me she wants to book me for the show. But I must delete episode 1 of this miniseries, and then they'll put me on the show in October. Now, mind you, I released an album in the first week of August. I became embroiled in a controversy which took center stage in the local hip hop scene, and I'm one of the most notorious MCs in this country. That is a fact. Yet you're telling me that I can be booked in October if I delete a video. Well, of course the video has not been deleted, and of course I will not be on the show. But let's look at this in a marketing sense. How would it make sense to put me on the show in October? You can't tell me that you're booked up with more urgent interviews than mine, that you can't find space for me till October from the first week in August. That is a bit strange. It would make most sense if you all want to get maximum listeners and viewership and interaction on social media that you do an interview with the man of the moment. But anyway, when you get your marketing degrees in a cereal box, these things, might not be so simple for you to calculate. Common sense is not so common. Try to spin it into a way like, because I'm posting stuff on social media, it is using up the material for the interview. I mean, if you hire bums with no media training to do the interviews, then of course my social media posts will make sure that they have nothing to talk about. But if you have professionals who are able to carry out a successful interview and interact with an artist and get down to the bottom of things, we could have an interesting interview. I have a lot to say. I don't think I need too much prompting from these guys anyway. I was gonna say what I had to say if I come on the show, but I will not be coming on the show, and in fact I will not be letting my music be played on the show. My music is now banned from their show. I am banning it. Usually, radio stations might ban your music. I have banned them. They cannot play a Saint Anne's record on that show.